I believe we are live. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You're watching the Weekend Boost on KUHS.com, KUHS Denver, the stream on Melody Drive. I am your host, Paul Lane, and the author of The Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story. Those of you who have been going to my website, thank you for going over there. Thank you for the orders that we've been getting. We appreciate that. If you want an autographed copy of the book, reach out to me at paullane.net. We'll be glad to send you an autographed copy. Guys, as usual, I like to put a plug in for my favorite organization, CALMA, Colorado Alliance for Latino Mentors and Authors. And we love you, Karen Gonzalez. You're my hero. I just love you guys. What a wonderful group of people. If you're inspired to write a book, or if you just like to write a blog, or if you'd like to get some mentorship, this is an organization that will definitely help you. You don't have to be Hispanic to go to this organization, but I tell you what, you will get some very, very good mentoring, some good leadership, and some good advice. That's all I can tell you. Also, we've had some good opportunities to go and see some very, very talented writers, authors, musicians. I mean, just so many things through Kalma that I'm so happy to have been a part of. Also, I just want to send a shout out of just a word of peace to the people in the Middle East. I know there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of people that are divided on this issue, but right now I just want to ask for peace for the people that are suffering. That's all. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. If those of you who saw me this morning on Facebook, I invited you to come and watch the show today. We have some really cool stuff to talk about. About 2 weeks ago, I went through a past lives regression. And I know those of you who watch the show know that I'm real big on that. I believe in reincarnation. There's so much more evidence to indicate that there is reincarnation than there is to disprove it. So I'm going with my belief. Actually, I've had, this is my second official past lives regression session that I've been through in this lifetime, and I went through a self-guided one back in 1980, if you can believe that, and that's when I first discovered that I did have a past life. But my guest today, Christine Morton, has been doing this for many, many years, officially 14 years doing... 17 years doing the past lives regression. And so, Christine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Yes.
You have a business that's healing...
the Harmony Healing Center.
Harmony Healing Center, yes. Mm-hmm. And it's up on Ward Road in about 56th and Ward Road.
Arvada, yeah.
And I got to tell you, man, I was so excited about this, and I went through this session, and it was just mind-boggling, the things that I learned. It's been almost 2 weeks. Tomorrow, Monday will be 2 weeks, and I'm still learning things from that experience. I'm going to turn up my volume just a little bit here. All right, thank you, Henry. So, sorry about that if you weren't able to hear that beginning part. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to just talk about past lives regression. We're going to talk about some interesting things. And guys, I'm so glad that this is recorded, because you can go back and watch this and listen to this. And when I got my past lives regression session, I got a recording of it. And oh my gosh, Dee and me, my wife and me, have listened to it 2 times. From beginning to end, and I got a copious amount of notes that are in reference to everything that we discovered and talked about during the session, and I just can't even begin to explain or express how exciting this was for me. Now, what was it that inspired you to go into this field? It's a very unique field.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really started 34 years ago when my mother died of ovarian cancer. At the end of her life, she found this amazing space. She was so calm and so peaceful and serene. She was amazing to be around during that time, and I vowed after she died that I was going to find a way to find that space without having been given a death sentence first. I had been in the medical field for many years, and I knew I needed to get into something more holistic. I fell in love with massage therapy. I started taking classes. I started my own business, and I began reading everything I could get my hands on death and dying and near-death experiences and reincarnation and I started volunteering for hospice and hypnosis. I was fascinated with hypnosis, but I was running my own business, and I had young girls running around, and I just didn't have time to pursue it. And then 10 years after my mother died, I was down in Florida attending a personal growth workshop, and in the middle of an emotional release process, I had this crazy opening, and my mother began talking to me. And what she told me is a whole nother story. You can read all about that out on the website. But in the middle of all of that, I knew that it was time to get into the hypnosis and then into the specialty work of the regression therapy. This is some of the most powerful work that I have found that allows us to go directly to the root cause of our issues and giving us an opportunity to release them quickly and safely and affordably, and giving us an opportunity for rapid personal growth and a much deeper connection to spirit.
Mm-hmm. In his book, Journey of Souls, Dr. Michael Newton,
Yes.
He talks about taking people back into their youth to address issues that they may have traumas or things, but he actually discovered that there was a time before that for many people. And can anybody be hypnotized?
Well, I believe anybody can, because we all go down through these different levels of consciousness every single night as we drift off to sleep. These are normal, natural states. We come down so quickly, though, and drop off into sleep that we don't have a chance to hover at those lower realms. And so my goal is to get people down to one of those lower states of consciousness above sleep and hold them there, because it's there that we have access to these memories. It's like these doors open up off to the side that we can go through and explore other aspects of ourselves. So most people are very successful, especially if they take the time to prepare properly. But, you know, I would say probably 90% of everyone that does this work, it has a very successful session if they prepare properly. But there's, you know, out of that 10%, there are a few that's going to have some trouble or just can't do it at all. They just have no idea how to get that left brain to sit off to the side and trust their intuitions that are coming in. But again, almost 90% of everyone does very, very well.
Now, when you say preparing, you expound on that just a little bit, if you would.
So I always ask everyone to begin about 2 to 3 weeks prior to the session to begin a 15 to 20 minute daily meditation practice. This is going to help so much with the regression. It's going to help that left brain take its proper place during the session, and it's also going to help train the mind to focus. We need a very focused mind for the session. I also have a couple of suggested readings to help people understand the difference between left and right brain. There's a 20-minute video that I want people to go out and watch about left and right brain. It's amazing. I also have a self-hypnosis audio that I send to everyone that they can download to their computer and begin practicing with. This is very helpful because not only does that help you practice getting into those lower states of consciousness, but it's also going to help you get used to the sound of my voice and my pacing.
I have to say that, you know, you sent me the email, and it had the self-hypnosis, the guided self-hypnosis, and my wife and I were, you know, we just sat there and we meditate pretty regularly together, and we put that audio on, and it was so quick that I got to that level of that deep level of a relaxation, and when the audio was over, I was at that place where if you ever meditated before, you understand that you all of a sudden you get to a point where you're no longer conscious of the things that are in your surroundings. I guess that's the only way to describe it. I found myself in a place of just, I don't even know, quiet, peace. I have a small fountain that I have running in my living room, and even that disappeared. The sound of the clock disappeared, and it was so amazing because typically when I meditate, I hear all that and I'm conscious of it. But with this, I was just completely in a different place. It was wonderful. And that guided me. I think that really helped me when I did go to your office.
Yes, yeah, practicing ahead of time really helps so that you would kind of have a better understanding of what you need to do when you get there.
So you mentioned your left brain. I have to say that when you talked about that, I was a little confused at first, and then I said, yeah, she's right. I understand. Left brain is logic, that's, and your right brain's emotion. If you were to break it down simplified, that's what it would be. And so I was able to disassociate myself, through your direction, from that left brain, that analytical part of the experience, and I felt so liberated. I don't even know the word. Liberated is the only thing I can think of, because I was able to really tap into something that was there all the time, but it was almost like a friend that's in the background. You don't know he's there or she's there.
That's right. It's in the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we have to go to get the answers that we're looking for, because those they're not on the surface in our conscious mind. So that left brain really does have to be able to step out of the way so that we can dive deep and get into that subconscious mind where those memories
Mm-hmm.
are at.
Those things you don't know, you know.
That's right. That's right. You just don't remember.
Yes.
That you know them. Yes.
I've been validated in the sense that I have had at least 4 lives before this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that that's probably scratching the surface, because oh my gosh, there's so many points that I want to talk about. I mean, I was there, and you told me, look at your feet, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my feet, and I'm like, oh, barefoot. I mean, I have sandals on, I saw a knot in the string on my shoes, and it was like a very delicately tied knot, and it was a sandal, and as I looked up from my feet to my knees, from my knees to my hips, from my hips to my waist, it was like I was really observing somebody else.
Yeah, the details that we can pull up in the sessions are incredible details.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, when I listened to my audio, there were things that I said that I was not cognizant of at that time. It was like, wow, I said this. I mean, I really couldn't believe that these words were coming out of my mouth, and I wasn't trying to force anything. You said, the first thing that you see when I ask you a question, that's what I want you to express. And it was like I wasn't. Wait a minute. Let me go back. After it was all said and done, and I went home, my left brain started taking over.
Of course.
As you mentioned, it would.
Absolutely.
And it was doubting. It was questioning it. It was wondering. My left brain was saying, "What just happened here?
Right.
What did you do to me?"
That's exactly right. The left brain is in a box. So it is concerned with everything between birth and death in this lifetime. And we are definitely going outside of this box with this work. And so the left brain has a hard time understanding what we just did today. It just doesn't compute. We have to process the session with that right brain part of us, that part of us that is creative, artistic, intuitive, feeling, expansive, timeless, spontaneous, heart-centered part of us. That part of us knows that there are just rich gems that we can pull from the information that comes up in a session, and we can get lots of healing in a session. Yeah.
I don't want to go too in depth on my session, because there was some very intimate things in there. There's things that I was really shocked about, but through the experience, you actually took me to a level where I was able to actually identify my spirit guide. Mm-hmm. And some people have many spirit guides. In my case, I was only directed to one spirit guide. Mm-hmm. And you said, what is it? Is it a gender? And at first I couldn't tell if it was a gender, and then it kind of it presented itself as a male. Mm-hmm. And it was a bird. I mean, it was like, oh, what am I seeing here? Yeah. And it was kind of like I could hear my left brain on the outskirts saying, "What are you seeing here? What are you seeing there?"
Exactly.
And then I realized that your spirit guide could take many forms in your view.
Absolutely. Spirit guides can show up in so many different ways. They can show up as people with male and female attributes, with hair and facial features and clothing. They can show up more like energy bodies or orbs. They can show up as birds or animals or insects or geometrical shapes. They can show up just as light. And sometimes it's just a feeling that comes in. So
for me it was so amazing because you said, "What do you see?" And I said, a bird."
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden I could see myself going head to head with this entity, this energy that was so it was engulfing, it was embracing, it was almost like I'd been wrapped with a warm blanket. I mean, that's the only way I could describe the feeling I had.
That's a common description.
Yeah, it was. So that wasn't unique. Okay.
No, that's very common.
Oh man, it was so reassuring to me, especially because one of my mission or my desires in this experience was to find and know my spirit guide or guides. And so when this all came to fruition, I was just thrilled. I mean, all the way home, I was just almost dancing in my car.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
feeling was so good. I mean,
Yeah, that can be some of the most profound part of the whole session is that face-to-face with a guide, and that is always our intention with a session is to, pick up the main, get the details of the life. And it's so fascinating because once we get in there, we can fast forward and rewind back through the life as many times as we want to get all the details that we need. And then we get to a death scene and cross over, and then it is always our intention to hook up with one of your guides who comes in to help us process what we learned here today.
is it common for a spirit guide to speak during the session, or is that pretty normal?
Well, I always ask. When we get to a question and answer period, I always ask if it would be appropriate for us, I say I would like to address my questions directly to your spirit guide. And if that's acceptable to everyone, please let me know. And that almost always it's yes. And so then at that point, oftentimes, as I'm asking questions, the guide is actually speaking through the voice of Paul or the client, and so that can be fascinating. Oftentimes, the voice of the guide is quite different from the person.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wipe the smile off my face thinking about this experience.
Yes.
When we were listening to the audio, Dee said, "Oh, your voice changed. Your voice changed when." And Asham, that was my spirit guide's name, and Asham started speaking. All of a sudden, it was like the tone, the variation of vowels, everything was completely changed, and it was not forced. It was completely just allowing.
That is common. That is common. Yes.
Yeah.
For the voice to be quite different and the personality to be quite different from the client.
It was too cool. It was just so cool.
Yeah.
2 nights later, I was going to bed and I shut my TV off and I went to go, fill up my water, and all of a sudden the TV turned back on. And so I went over there and I shut it off again. I put the remote down. I started walking back to the bedroom and it turned on again.
Oh, interesting.
And most people would probably feel a little bit fearful of that or feel troubled, but for me, that was absolute confirmation that what I had experienced was real.
Yeah, that was for you. That was communication from your guides, to let you know that yes, and it's communication. Yes.
Mm-hmm. When you're being hypnotized, you actually descend in levels of consciousness. There's an alpha, there's a beta, and then there's what, theta?
There's actually beta, alpha.
Oh, beta, alpha. Okay.
And then theta, and then delta. So beta is wide awake, and delta is deeply, deeply asleep. So in a past life regression, we want to get you down to a mid to lower alpha state. With a between life soul regression, we need a much deeper state for that session. So that session we require a upper to mid theta state for the between life soul regression.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those who are listening who may be troubled in their hearts right now because it may in their minds contradict with their spirituality, Michael Newton actually hypnotized people from all different faiths. I mean, he had atheists and Christians and Buddhists and ministers, and I mean his part 2 book's fascinating as well. But even people who didn't believe experienced past lives.
Yes. Yeah, we don't, one of the questions that people ask is, do I have to believe in past lives in order to benefit from this work? And the answer to that is technically no, Some people believe that these are memories that we're picking up from our ancestors or from the collective consciousness. Many people believe that these are real past lives, but it really doesn't matter. The proof is in the results. These are legitimate expressions of the unconscious mind, and we can use this information to help us to understand what we've been feeling and thinking for a long time, and to be able to begin to understand the repeating patterns that are playing themselves out in our lives, and to resolve dysfunctional patterns, and to heal emotional issues and physical issues and relationship issues and so much more.
Yes, yes. I have to share this with you. This was such an amazing thing for me. I have been walking with a limp for over 10 years. And when I went back into that past life, the person that I was had a damaged leg, a damaged foot, and walked with a crutch or a cane of sorts. And since this experience, I'm walking around like almost zero pain in my left ankle.
Interesting, very interesting.
So yeah, it was almost like I revealed something.
That's right. So physical issues oftentimes are connected to something that happened in a past life. So bringing the conscious awareness of that life up to the conscious mind, oftentimes that the energy that is connected there from that past life to this current life can begin to start to unravel, and physical symptoms can actually get better or actually completely resolve. Or sometimes they don't resolve, but we have a much clearer understanding of why we're having this physical symptom in this life, and it's almost always a reminder that the lessons that we learned from that past life. And so it brings up the opportunity for growth, and it helps us to figure out how to move forward in this current life with this condition, and how to be more peaceful about it and less resistant of it, and to understanding where it comes from.
Yes, yes. In my culture we say, we don't know our grandfathers, but our grandfathers know us. And one of the things that I was hoping to experience was to reach out to some of my ancestors. It didn't happen. And I thought I would, before this, all these things go through your mind. Well, I'd be disappointed if I do, or I'll be excited. What? It didn't affect anything. It didn't change the way I felt about the experience. It didn't change my belief that my ancestors still know me. And yet it left me with a feeling of promise. A feeling of assurance, I guess. I don't know. I can't explain it. Just because of having known that this experience happened to me, it's inevitable that my ancestors have had this same experience,
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting. It's very fascinating. What are some of the other things that people ask you? A lot of, some questions. You had sent me some questions, and I had written it down, and I left it home, unfortunately. But what are some common questions that people ask you, when they're coming to talk to you about past lives regression?
Oh, let's see. People, they want to know how many sessions they would typically need for this kind of work. This is very powerful work. We don't tend to need a lot of it. The past life soul regression and then the deeper work of the between lives soul regression is usually a pretty complete package. Occasionally, so some people get everything that they were looking for in one past life regression, and then sometimes people know that they are looking for the answers to those really big questions that we can get in the between lives regression. And so that person would probably begin with a past life regression and then progress into a between lives regression. But those two packages, those two sessions are really a pretty complete package.
Talk a little bit about that between live session. What happens during this? I'm excited because I'm ready to.
So the between live soul regression, it's a longer session. It's deeper work. When the soul goes to this place after at the end of every life to rest and to study and to plan the next incarnation. This is the session where we can get the answers to some of those really big questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going when I leave here? Who are my guides and teachers? Who are the members of my soul family? Who are my soul mates? What
purpose
in
life.
What are the contracts I agreed to this time around? What is my purpose work? So exploring the spiritual realm between lives is like opening the doors to the library of our soul's eternal memories. As I mentioned, most people begin with a past life regression and then progress into the deeper work.
I'll tell you, folks. If someone wants to reach out to you, if someone wants to go through this experience, how can they reach you?
Well, my telephone number is 303-960-5970. My website is harmonysoulregression.com. And so get out there on the website. The website has a ton of information. There are radio shows on there. There are videos. There are all kinds of content on there to look at. And then you can set up, from the website, you can request a 30-minute consultation with me. Those are free. I would love to talk with you and to explain the process to you.
So it's very, very all-encompassing. I mean, it really, when you go and see Christine and you go through this session, I could speak for me. I feel like there was a part of a jigsaw puzzle that was missing. I feel like it was just pushed right into place and fit right in. I mean, it really answered so many questions for me, and it really just gave me confirmation that all these thoughts that I've had about this past life experience and experiences are real.
That's right. And another question that people ask is that, you know, they're worried that they won't be able to handle a really traumatic past life. But it's kind of sort of like watching, being in a movie theater. So when you're in a movie theater, you're so focused on the movie that your heart starts to beat really fast at the really exciting or scary parts, and you start to tear up at the really sad or sweet parts. And you're so focused on the movie that you almost forget where you really are. But not quite. There's a part of you that knows you're not actually in the movie, that you're observing it from out here. And it's very similar to that in a regression. You're going to be lying on a very comfortable table, your eyes are going to be closed, and I'm going to be helping you get very deeply relaxed. But you're still going to be able to hear my voice, you're still going to be able to answer any questions that I might ask, and you are in control at all times. And you're going to be so focused, though, on the scenes that are playing themselves out in your mind's eye that you almost completely detach from the outside world. But not quite. There's a part of you that knows you're not actually in the life, that you are actually in a very comfortable setting. Many of these sessions are done on Zoom, in the comfort of your own home, lying on your own bed. So there's a part of you that knows that you're comfortable, you're safe, you're working with a professional who's done this for so many years and knows exactly how to handle anything that might come up. But honestly, the past life regression, the lives that we go back to are almost always trauma-based. We don't tend to go back to those easy vacation lives because we're done with those. We tend to go back to those really traumatic ones, the ones that we're still holding on to energy from. But again, the mind puts this all in proper perspective, bringing the awareness of this life. I mean, it can be quite intense and emotional and traumatic as we're going, reliving it again. But the mind puts this all in proper perspective. And we don't come out of those sessions running off in a state of pain. That doesn't work that way. Instead, this helps us to understand what we've been feeling and thinking for a very long time, and helps us to begin to unravel things and resolve dysfunctional patterns and heal relationship issues and physical issues and emotional issues and things like that. So
I have to smile thinking about my experience. When during my regression, I went to kind of a fast forward to my last day on this earth, and it was a traumatic death, as you mentioned. And it was, for a minute there, especially going after hearing it, I kind of freaked out, because I saw myself dead there, and I saw, some really brutal things, and
yes.
After it was done, you asked my spirit guide, why did you take Paul to this particular life? And the answer was so revelatory. I mean,
right.
the spirit guide said, because Paul has always questioned his dealing with anger in this lifetime and rage. And I was enraged because I had literally found my mother brutally murdered. And I took vengeance, and I did it in a way that wasn't civilized, and I mean, I can't change it, but I observed it, and I was able to really look at that and internalize that and understand that,
that's why you've carried this energy with you
yes.
into this incarnation to work through.
Yes.
Yes, classic. Yes.
And since then, I have to say that I even see myself, I do TikTok videos, and I see a change in my countenance. I see such a calmness that I never have had before, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's really made an impact on my perspective, I guess, towards things that would normally enrage me or anger me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Is that common?
Absolutely, yes. All of the experiences that we have in this life and in our past life, they're giving us an opportunity to, at some point, come back to ourselves, come back to self-love, self-acceptance, self-trust, self-forgiveness.
Oh, man.
Self-forgiveness, yes.
I got to do a quick station break. Guys, if you're just joining us, you're watching KUHS, the stream on Melody Drive. This is the Weekend Boost, and I'm your host, Paul Lane. We are talking to past lives regression therapist, Christine Morton, today, and we're just talking about the experience of going through a past life regression. I want to talk for a moment about soul pods or group. We talked about soulmates a little bit, and I'd like to touch on that too. But soul pods, what is a soul pod?
Well, we all have soul families. We have soul families, much like we have families here in this life. On the other side, we also have families, soul families, and so we tend to reincarnate over and over with the same people from our soul group. Not always. Sometimes we're grabbing people from over here or from over here, But so it's so fascinating because invariably. 2 or 3, always have people come up with a list of people that have been influential in their life before the session. That's part of their homework, and invariably 2 or 3 of those people will show up in a past life or more, or maybe someone you didn't even put on that list will show up. And so and then in the between lives regression, we can actually get into those soul pods, into those and to really look at each person individually and go, oh my gosh, that's so and so.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this person's in there. So yeah, it's fascinating.
I loved, in Michael Newton's book, and I refer to that all the time. And if you watch a show, I talk about Michael Newton all the time. But he talks about this soul pod and how we recognize people, or your soul, your spirit guide may be your son or your daughter or your mother or your grandmother, and you just don't even know. And yesterday my daughter came in from New Mexico, and I held my 8-month-old granddaughter, and I mean, she hadn't seen me in some time, and she just came to me and she just studied my face, and I put my hand up like this, and she put her hand right on my hand, and I danced. And it's like she knew me, man. From the first time I ever laid eyes on her, she studied my face as if like, okay, where do I know you from? And even this little infant showed some expression of curiosity, and I don't, she didn't, appear in my session, but I feel this connection to her and my grandkids, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a grandpa or what, but I just feel.
Well, that's part of it, but
There's
it's
something-
entirely possible that there's a deeper connection there. So, yeah.
Now, all over the world, we're hearing stories of children going down the road and saying, "I lived in that house right there. If you go in, there's a door to the left, and there's a red bed, bedspread, and there's this and that, and the mother's name is this, and or they come back and they say, you know what, I was murdered," and they come back and they say, my body's buried right here, and they go to an obscure place, find a body, and they actually convict people because
Yeah.
that heart continues to beat.
Yeah, children oftentimes can remember that they've been other people when they're young. If the parents don't squash that and go, oh no, then they can hold on to those memories for a little while. But usually by the time they're about 6 or 7, those memories begin to fade. But it's fascinating. Ian Stevenson has written a wonderful book. He's thoroughly researched, went all over the world researching these children who remembered their past lives, and it is so fascinating how the amazing details that they could come up with, that there's no possible way that they could have known that as a child in this life. And so it's fascinating.
It's totally, it really is fascinating. And I've read quite a few different stories of past life experience in children. It's like, how can you deny this, and how can you, if this person is given this from a past life, giving details that no one else can know, that can't be disputed because you can go to historical documents and find that this is true.
That's right. I have a video on my website of one of those childhood experiences. It's powerful.
I'll tell you the other one that was really, it just blew my mind as looking back on it, is when I was there and you said, okay, I want you to look around, tell me what year it is. And I can go back to that, that session right now, and I can hear myself saying, how are you going to know this? And all of a sudden I see 1725.
That's right.
Almost like an address on a house. It came right in front of me.
Right. And that's what I always ask. See those numbers flash across your forehead. What year is this? And sometimes we don't get a year, and sometimes we get a very specific date.
Yes. In my last session, they asked me that, and I couldn't tell them.
Right.
And so it was weird because in that session, I had two hypnosis sessions. It was a Denver Free University, and I went there, and they did the whole group in the morning, then they did me in the afternoon.
Okay.
And I had 2 distinctly different lives.
That's
and
right.
I came out of that saying, no. My left brain was just in complete denial that this could be a possibility.
The left brain has a hard time understanding.
Yeah. And so, if you're at a point where you think this might be something for you, I encourage you, reach out. This has been such a liberating moment for me. It's a moment of just understanding myself, really starting to like myself in a different way. That there were things about me that I was really confused about, or for example, I was always an angry man. People would tell me, Paul Lane Snap. I would get so upset and I would enrage, and then I feel like that was just so.
You understand now
what
that is connected to.
Where did that originate?
That's right.
Yes.
The root cause. That's the beauty of this work, is that we can get back to the root of it. We can spend thousands of dollars and years in traditional psychotherapy just to scrape off the surface of 1 or 2 issues. This is some of the most powerful work that I have found that goes directly to the root cause.
Now, if I wanted to become a hypnotherapist, what would that entail? How difficult is that?
Well, for the purpose of this work, there is a whole 2-year certified hypnotherapist training program. That for the purpose of this work, that isn't necessary. You do have to have some hypnosis training. I am a certified hypnotist, but I am not a certified hypnotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so then once I got my certification in hypnosis, then I was able to jump right into the training for the between lives and the past life regression trainings, which is very in-depth and very specific training. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it was just the best. I mean, I enjoyed myself so much. I gained, I guess, for lack of a better word, a perspective of myself, almost like taking a step outside of myself and looking at Paul. Through my childhood, even. I mean, I saw, portions of my life that almost brought it all together. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's almost like there was a completion of missing parts.
Right. And didn't you find that your personality in that life was, you could see the threads of,
Yes.
of commonality in this current life? Yeah.
Yes, I could see it when I was a young man in that life. I was very joyful. I was very enthusiastic. I was a real jokester, and I'm like, that's
who he is.
That's what I still am.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was so interesting. And I keep referring to Michael Newton because he's just kind of a hero of mine. And in his second book, he did one session where there was a pastor, and he was a staunch religious man. And when he got to that point of in his hypnosis, he said, "Oh no, I've gone to hell. I've ruined it. I know I should have done more." And all of a sudden he starts laughing, and it was his spirit guide with a facade.
Oh my gosh, they can be so funny on the other side. They're always telling us that we take things way too seriously and to lighten up, so they can be quite jokesters. They can be quite funny.
And honest.
And honest, yes.
I mean, I heard some things about myself that I was saying that I'm like, oh no, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh. The words were said that I sometimes make foolish decisions. And to hear something like that about yourself, it's embarrassing.
No, and it's not meant to be
criticism. Yeah, it's not a critique.
It's not a critique. They're always, our guides are so loving and so unconditional love and support, and their goal is always to assist. And so, but they tell us as it is. They tell us exactly what we need to hear, what we're ready to hear. And so, that's something for you to think about and to look at and to maybe, try to do things a little bit differently going forward. And so it's always not meant as a critique, as a criticism, but as a constructive,
Now, what are you going to say?
No.
Okay, so going back to biblical times, I just want to touch on this. Biblical times, there were two religious groups that were the religious leaders. There were the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Sadducees believed in reincarnation. The Pharisees did not. So this is not a new topic. This is not something that's just new on the scene. This is ancient. And even back in those days, there was talk of reincarnation.
That's right.
I talk to a lot of my Christian friends, and I mentioned a time when the Pharisees came to Jesus and they said, "Are you John the Baptist, who is already dead?" He said, "No."
Yeah.
They said, "Are you Elijah?" He didn't say, "Well, what are you talking about? There's no such thing. How could I be Elijah?"
Yeah.
Which Jesus would never, according to Scripture, would never let anything untrue be spoken. Right? So when he said, "No, I'm not John the Baptist, I'm not Elijah, I'm Jesus of Nazareth," what was he implying there?
Well, it's hard to know just exactly what he was, referring to. Was he saying that, I don't know.
Yeah, I marvel at that passage because, other times when they said, if a woman was married to a man and he dies, she marries his brother, and then she marries his brother, whose wife is she? Jesus said, "What are you talking about? It's written. There's neither husband or wife in heaven.
Yeah.
There is no marriage in heaven." And so he corrected what the Scriptures detailed. And so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, well, what you have to understand is that the information that Jesus was trying to get across to us 2,000 years ago, we were not capable of really understanding what it was he was trying to say. We didn't have the mindset. We didn't have the capability to really understand. Today we have a much greater opportunity to really understand what Jesus was trying to tell all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does come down to again, self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-trust, forgiveness. And when we can really get there, then we can spread that out to the world. We can
Mm-hmm.
be more compassionate to our neighbors, to our fellow humans, and to understand that we are all human and we are all flawed, and to have more compassion and more love for people and the planet.
And ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, definitely ourselves. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I've always, I tell people, be kind to yourself, especially, I'm a life coach, so I get a lot of calls from people who are going through traumatic experiences, whether it's through a breakup or they discover they have cancer or they're in a relationship or a difficult relationship with their parent or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to finish my statement with, or my session with, be kind to yourself.
That's right. That's right. We're so critical. We're so self-critical. We're usually our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was an experience for me that when we were all finished, and the spirit guide, you said, are there any other words that you would like to say? And my spirit guide said, everything's going to be all right. And I have been telling people this for 20 years, man. I don't even know where it came from, but it's like, to hear those words.
Yeah. Everything's fine. Everything's happening exactly the way it's supposed to. If you could get off the planet and see things from that larger perspective, you'd understand that, we are all one race of people. We are all, we are all one, and there really is no separation. And so when we really can embrace that understanding and treat others as we would like to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do people experience karmic lessons during past lives regression at times?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's just like, it's like the past life that you explained, your past life, where your mother was brutally murdered, and you felt compelled to seek revenge for that, and did so in a rather brutal way. So we accumulate karma in these lives, and so that and at the end of your life, you were able to look at that and see that you wished you had been able to handle it differently, but at the time it was the way you needed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's leftover energy that was carried through into this lifetime, and so you had to experience this rage and this anger in this current life, and it had to play itself out until you finally get to a point where you say, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
What is this connected to? I need to get back to the root of this and figure this out. So that's when we can get into those past lives and figure out where that, and then we resolve that karma.
Yes. It's so interesting you say that, because after it was all finished, and I was kind of just, you told me just kind of relax, take your time coming out of it. There was a split within me. There was a part of me that was sad that I had taken revenge for my mother's death, but there was a part of me that was saying, forgive yourself.
Exactly.
I wanted to throw this out. I'll make sure and point this out. When it was finished and you said, now I don't know the exact words, you now eliminate anything that doesn't serve you.
That's right.
So anything that I experienced and that I'm still carrying, I was able to say goodbye.
Yeah, we ask now that all vows and promises tied to the past life that we have examined here today that no longer serve be released and nullified. So that is a statement that is always said at the end of every traumatic past life. And it gives us an opportunity to see that was then, this is now, and we cut we cut those ties.
Yes, and it's healthy.
And
It's very healthy. I think the only word that I can use to describe my experience was liberating.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so freeing to discover that this experience at some point in my existence carried on
Yes.
into this life.
Exactly.
And man, I think back up to all the days up till the day of that past lives regression session that I wasted energy holding on to those feelings.
And yet, Paul, a year ago you weren't ready.
No.
You weren't ready. So timing is everything with this work.
Yes.
So
yes.
The timing was perfect for you to get into this memory and to be able to, so people like to beat themselves up, oh my gosh, why couldn't I have gotten to this so long ago? But again, everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to in perfect timing. Timing is everything, so you have to just trust. You will know when you're ready to do something like this. You'll know. Yeah.
So guys, if you're out there and you have some feelings in you and you're wondering if, is this possible? Could this have, could I have had a past life? I really, I encourage you, reach out to Christine. If you want to reach out to me at paullane.net, I will forward your information. But I'm a believer that this is really a path to reconciliation with self. I think it's a path to understanding our own self in many ways, not just our good things, but our bad, understanding whether it's bad habits that we have or bad opinions that we have that don't serve us. I think when we finish a session like that and we walk away from it, all of that comes with us, that release or that liberation from those burdens are gone.
Well, yes, they're not always gone immediately. It's an integration process, as you know. It's only been a couple of weeks. I always tell people that we're opening up a doorway with this work, and this doorway remains open for some time. In fact, it never completely closes.
Mm-hmm.
So people can experience some pretty intense emotions over the next few days, and what most people will find is they will continue to get more information. So we're opening up a doorway with this work, and information can continue. It's just getting started with the session, and so oftentimes more information will continue to come in. Downloads come in, and you might be at the grocery store a week later and go, oh my goodness, this is connected to that. And that's just the way that this works. It usually takes a couple of months or more to fully integrate a session. Yeah.
And for me, I meditate on a pretty daily basis, and I'm finding that, I don't know, my level of relaxation has been really deep. It's really been wholesome. It's very fulfilling. And when I'm finished with my meditations, I feel almost like a different person than when I meditated before.
Yeah. Well, you've opened up a pathway.
A freedom to really be healed, to be okay. And I love it. I think it's just been really good for my person.
Yeah. Very good.
And I think that there's so many people who don't like themselves out there, and there's people who chastise themselves and who beat up themselves, and I would tell you that you probably are a great candidate for this I don't know if therapy is the word, or this experience. I would highly encourage it. I've talked to all of my loved ones about this experience, and some are a little bit more accepting than others, but
timing is everything.
Yep. My daughter, she just couldn't get enough of it. I mentioned she had gone through a regression session, and her experience, while I think it was very fulfilling for her, she didn't seem to get as much out of it as I did. I even right after her session, it was almost like there was something lacking, almost like they didn't debrief her, or there wasn't closure. And so I really have to say that I was really pleased with the result. I was pleased with how patient you were with me. I remember you took me to the last day of my life, and I saw my I'm going to say it, my decapitated body. And you had me go up and up and up. At first I was really shocked because I realized that was me. And then I was able to just look at it, and you said, you're observing this.
Yes,
This is.
yes. So we have tools to help people be able to handle a really traumatic death scene, for example. It isn't necessary for you to be in that, experiencing all of that a lot of times. And so we can pull out of the body, we can come up above and look down at the scene and be able to see everything and describe everything that's going on, but be a little bit more emotionally detached from it. So that's what we did with Paul, with that particular scene.
So guys, I'm telling you, this has been one of the most eye-opening experiences, one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. And man, I've been through many, many courses and classes and sessions, and I've had a lot of training in my lifetime. And this was some of the best 3 hours that I've spent in my whole life. I mean it.
People often say that doing this work is some of the most powerful work that they've ever done.
I couldn't wait to get home to my wife and just hold her and just squeeze her and just love on her. And we asked the spirit guide if she and I had lived in lives before, and he said they've lived many, many lives. And so I don't even know. I don't even have words to describe how.
Right?
Yes. Yes. And so it was very, very confirming for me to get that message and to understand that there's things in this world that we truly do not understand, and to be open-minded to them is really going to be our key to understanding, addressing, and accepting them.
Yes. And for being able to spread more compassion out there.
Yes, yes, and that's really what it's about.
We need that right now.
We need compassion so bad in this world. We are down to our last couple of minutes.
Okay.
That goes so fast when I have great, I'm so fortunate to have such great guests on the show.
It's been so fun to be here today.
It's been great. Yes.
Me, yeah.
My next guest, I met her at a village inn the other night. Dee and I decided to go have a piece of pie, and there was a table sitting next to us, and they were celebrating. A woman had just finished publishing her book, and so Lisa Gunshore is going to be my next guest. I'm waiting to get a copy of her book. So it was just like manifesting is real, guys. My slogan on this show is this: everybody is looking for a hero. If you can't find one, be one. Christine, thank you for being a hero.
Thank you, Paul.
You've helped open so many doors for me that were closed, and I mean it. You've really been a hero for me, and I'm just so grateful for that experience.
Oh, well, it has been my pleasure and my honor to assist you with this session.
Next up, we have Paul Chavez, Mr. International with Deep Cuts. He is putting on a new twist to some old music, and I guarantee you, stay tuned. As you know, KUHS has a wide format. We have a great bunch of DJs and guest speakers and talk shows. It's a great show to listen to 24/7. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm actually a minute and a half in to go, but I don't even know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this show, because I get so fulfilled being able to share this experience and share this knowledge. Share this video. I know that you have a click button on your Facebook, or if you're listening to this online, share this audio, because there's a lot of people out there who want to get answers, who have questions, and they don't realize that the answers are really right in front of us.
They're just under the surface, just under the surface.
Yes,
we don't have access in normal waking consciousness, but they're just under the surface, and we can get to them.
Yes, they can. If you have a child that's given you, really unusual information, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because they may be giving you insights that my brother used to say, remember I was your dad? Remember I was your dad? All when he was a little boy.
Interesting.
And, we discounted it. You know, Joey, don't do that. And
well,
you know
the
what?
left brain can't figure that out.
Yeah, and now I look back and I think, Joey must have been my dad.
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, I don't doubt that.
And so, guys, I am so grateful to have you as, you know, watching us, and look forward to having you as our guest, as, you know, as our guest viewers in the weeks to come, in the months to come. I love you guys. I'm so humbled and grateful to have you. Thank you. See you next time.